In short, this is what I have to say. Let us forget fights and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come, let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together. Oh, yeah.
Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together. I want to welcome you to this very important segment in the program where I will speak, laying a solid foundation for reasoning. And I'm happy to have those locked on via radio. We have Vibes 101.3 FM and Vibes 106.3 FM here in Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. And we have Wild 106.3 FM out there in New York. We also have our colleagues or friends on Facebook on the Grenada Transformation page, Grenada Transformation Agenda. That's the name of the page, Grenada Transformation Agenda. And then on YouTube, it's Vision Information Services. So you have quite a number of ways to reach us, to connect, to listen in, to view. I want to start off this morning by sharing with you some positive things, right? Some positive stuff that's happening. I want to start off with the action plan to end plastic pollution in Grenada. I am all for the environment. So let's just feature that.
International NGO Common Seas, together with the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, engaged local stakeholders on Tuesday to present key elements of the National Action Plan to tackle the root of plastic pollution in Grenada. The workshop was held for one day at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium to identify and agree on the policy priorities for tackling plastic pollution and highlight key steps needed to implement priority policies. 5 strategies, which include 20 policy areas, were presented to the stakeholders to reduce plastic pollution by 80%. Common Seas works along with governments to design and deliver solutions to tackle the problem of plastic pollution. Policy lead at the Common Seas, Carla Worth, explained that Common Seas is happy to work along with government ministries in Grenada to apply the plastic drawdown tool.
Our partnership work is based on a plastic drawdown tool. It's a tool that we've developed in partnership with other governments and academics. And this tool has the potential, or it analyzes the potential for 20 different policies to reduce projection of plastic pollution over time. And so what we have done is we've selected, or we've picked out the most impactful policies and grouped them into strategies. So we have identified that 5 strategies have the potential to reduce plastic pollution in Grenada by 80% over the next 10 years. So these strategies range really from individual taxes on specific items through to kind of systems change and supporting the development of or the improvement of solid waste management structures more generally. So the policies really range quite broadly, and this is why we're very happy today to have a really great range of stakeholders with us.
The drawdown tool is supported by a baseline study. Common Seas plans to work along with Grenada towards a successful implementation.
Our objective is to come up with a roadmap for each of these policies, the policies that we agree on today, and develop a final national action plan. And from here, Common Seas will support on understanding how this action plan can be implemented, what are the governance structures, what are the monitoring and evaluation requirements. So we support on really not just finishing at the action plan, but really supporting onto the implementation into realization into Grenada.
Yes, that's a very good thing for the environment and for humanity, our existence. Plastic is bad for the environment. So I'm happy that the government has a partnership established to try to eradicate, to reduce, if not eradicate, the entire plastic operation here in Grenada. All right, so I think it's a good thing, very, very good thing. And that's the way to go. Because if your environment is pristine, if it is, clean, and you would benefit holistically from that, your children, your community, your neighborhood, everybody will benefit from a clean environment. So that's the way to go. I want to commend the government for that. I want to now move to another positive. It's so important. The sargassum seaweed boy. All right. I want to feature that too.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives Fisheries Division has received a valuable tool to help manage Grenada's persistent sargassum seaweed problem, which has plagued the island since 2011. Karima Lewis tells us more.
This tool, an over 20-foot boat along with essential materials, equipment and spare parts, was made possible through a generous donation from the government and people of Japan as part of the Japan Grant Aid for the Economic and Social Development Program for Grenada FY 2020. The official launch of this boat took place on Monday at the Kirani James Boulevard. The $2.3 million project will ensure that the SU is managed effectively, and to ensure the success of this initiative, a training session was organized for the staff of the Fisheries Division, Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, local fishers, boat operators, and marine mechanics immediately following the launch. This session aimed to demonstrate best practices in the operation and maintenance of the equipment and to provide practical guidance on effectively addressing the sargassum issue. Chief Fisheries Officer and Technical Expert Justin Rennie emphasized the significance of this initiative for the sector.
When the sargassum is within our shores, the fishermen cannot go out to sea, the lines get entangled, the engines get fouled, and it's a severe cost in terms of the operation, not only from the equipments, but also from the lost fishing days. Also within the coastal areas, especially on the East Coast, you have the Marquis, the Soubise, the Grand Bacolet, and those areas, and where it is heavily inundated. It's causing a lot of problems for villagers along the shores in terms of the household equipments, fridge, stove, stereo equipments and other things like that. So that would bring a huge relief to the local community, fishermen, tourism sector, and persons residing along the coastline.
The implementation of this project is being carried out by Nito Simo Company Limited. General Manager for Overseas Business Development, Mijitaka Nakumara, explained the sargassum capture process through his translator, Masayuko Homa.
Today that we learned that how the boat works and how to move that operate the boat, about engine and catching the method. We will explain to the local fishermen today. By boat, we are towing the fishing gear made by the polyethylene net, and we towing and collect sargasso and put the sargasso on the boat deck, and then we collect and check that what the sargasso is exactly doing.
Before the sargassum capture begins, a committee comprising members from the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives, Environment, Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, and other relevant stakeholders will be established to ensure coordinated efforts throughout the process.
Wonderful. That's the way to go. I love that undertaking, that project. And amazingly, I was listening to those NNP pundits early this morning, about 4:35, and one of them said on that program yesterday, well, the NDC said they could fix the sargassum seaweed and all during the campaign. So they're calling on the NDC to fix it. But things are happening in that direction because to the NNP, they believe this is rocket science. There are many small islands who are actually using the same sargassum seaweed for pesticides and other things like that. So they trap them early, they collect them early, because only when this thing gets to the shore, the shoreline, it starts smelling. You get this scent coming from there. And it would also, because of the gas that comes from it, it would also affect the people on the coastline areas, their appliances and other things like that. But I'm saying the NDC is not just talking, they're actually getting the job done. And we are seeing that. But even if they do that, even if they get the job done in that area, the NNP will still find something to complain about, find something to groan about, find some reason to criticize the many good things that are happening in the country. So I am not surprised. I am not surprised at all. I want to move now to a piece that I want to really play for you, and then I would play a piece from the NNP and what they had to say on it. All right? Because it's important to put context in place so you understand really what we are dealing with. So the government of Grenada, the Housing Authority, they are tasked with the responsibility of maintenance for all those housing schemes. The housing schemes, they fall under Housing Authority, Government of Grenada, Housing Authority. So when the NNP was in power, they sold those houses as low-income houses to people, $30-something thousand, $40-something thousand, but it was a kind of payment plan. So they entered into a payment plan so that they would pay every month a certain amount of money. So every month they have to pay, let's say, $300, $200, $100 and something dollars. So they were given a payment plan. The people who had money, they paid out. They went and take a loan from the bank and so on, and they paid out the entire thing. So the property belongs to them. But Housing Authority has that responsibility to maintain the facility. But to do so, the occupants must pay. They must pay the amount of money that they're required to pay because they're not occupying it free. But under the NNP, they could care less. They were not paying because, the NNP in power, and the NNP was all about allowing them to just leave there without paying because it's about a vote. It's not about responsibility, accountability. It is not about making sure that the people who occupy those apartments pay their money so that Housing Authority could repair, could maintain the facility. Because it's unfair to have people who paid their money in full suffering because of the people who failed to pay. So now that the walls are cracking, the electrical, there are electrical issues. People are being, people getting shocked when they put in their lights and using their appliances. All the painting, everything just falling apart, mold inside the building. People can get sick with that. And, the railings, everything just need total repair. So now that they have to do that work, they need money. Housing Authority needs money. The NNP is saying, well, forget about the money, right? Forgive the people who owe the millions and millions of dollars because they poor and they vulnerable and they, that is what the NNP is saying, and you're going to hear it in a while from an NNP pundit. they are not saying, well, the government or the housing authority needs the money to renovate the place, to fix the place. They are not concerned about that. They're saying, well, the people who occupy that whole housing scheme in Sobeys, the one at Mount Rush, the one in Frequenty, well, they're poor and they're vulnerable and so on. And they have not been paying, and things are tough, so you should not collect any money from them. Just start from a clean slate, right? Start from now. Forgive them of all that they owe and start from now. And they would pay. It just doesn't make sense what they're saying. But let me play for you first the piece of government highlighting the problems and what they have to do in those housing schemes.
Government spends over $2 million to repair units under Phase 1 of the Grenada China Low-Income Housing Project at Mungay, Frequency, and Sobeys. Housing Development Minister Honorable Philip Telesford and officials from the Grenada Housing Authority facilitated a press conference on Friday to share updates on the repairs and delinquent payment recoveries. Minister Telesford outlined the current state of housing developments for Phase 1.
Those who were charged with the responsibility of exercising good governance and stewardship of the Housing Authority failed miserably at the jobs. The report highlights failures in the structure, in maintaining the structure. As we speak, the walls are flaking and peeling, both inside and outside of the building. And molds are taking over the internal units or the inside of those units. There are electrical problems in most of these units. Broken wires. People are getting shocked simply by turning on a switch because of lack of maintenance.
$4.9 million is owed in outstanding arrears, with $2.2 being owed by Phase 1 housing occupants. Mr. Giselle Charles, accountant at the Housing Authority of Grenada, reassured those with outstanding balances that there are no penalties for late payments.
We have sent persons to the units at the schemes to meet with persons, so we are trying. The second demand letter will be sent by our lawyers during the course of next week, September 18th, and that again is going to give you another opportunity to come in and speak with us. Should you not comply with that, then we would have no other choice but to send a final demand notice. We hope it does not get to sending a final demand notice. We are urging the clients, you know who you are. You know that you are not servicing your loans. You know that you are a resident of the unit. We have been alerted to what the receivables balance is. We are aware of the work that needs to be done in the unit, but the work cannot be done unless we collect on the amounts that are owing. So again, we urge and we plead with the residents. If you know that you are in arrears, you have outstanding amounts, and we consider arrears to be any amount that is past due. So even if it's 1 month, it's considered an arrears. And I should make it clear that the Housing Authority does not charge late fee or penalties. So the amounts that you are hearing here is just amounts that were due as monthly payments. We do not have late fees, we do not have penalties. These are just amounts that were due as monthly payments. So it's another plea to the residents in all the schemes, all the units. If you're a part of a housing unit that is managed and run by the Housing Authority of Grenada, this is a plea to you to reach out to us to make an arrangement to service those outstanding payments.
Mark Paul, Chief Technical Officer at Housing Authority, offered a comprehensive breakdown of the cost of repairs needed.
The technical team have done a comprehensive assessment of all the repairs to be done. We have go from door to door throughout the schemes, the three sites, Soubise, Frequenté, and Mongué. We have identified a number of defects, such as roof leaks, rotten rails, electrical and plumbing problems, mold, flaking paints, damaged tiles, doors, locks, windows. So we did assessment and we come up with a total sum. Okay, so I would go through the entire sum. For rails, we have a cost of $1,326,186. The roof is $138,608.29. The plumbing, $28,900. Electrical, $405,240. The lifted tiles, $90,600. Windows, doors, locks, $55,420. Painting and the treatment, $164,748. So that gives you a total of $2,209,702. Okay, so we are in the stage of preparing the scope of works and tendering. Okay, so we're looking to start the project, the repairs by October
Right. So you heard
2023.
there from housing authority officials, Mac Paul, my good buddy there. All right. In fact, I worked at housing authority when he was actually uh, at a lower rank. So now he's the chief technical officer there. And I know his capabilities. All right. I want to say to you, Grenadians need to wake up. Everything will not be free. The NNP taught their supporters to depend on government for everything and that everything will be free and easy. Government changed and they are now realizing, those NNP supporters, they're now realizing that everything will not be free. And remember, it was the NNP who was actually in power when those buildings and so on were constructed. Don't forget that, by the Chinese government and so on. They were low-income houses. And the NNP gave these people an apartment and a contract saying, this is the amount you have to pay for it. Because I remember there were occupants who shared with me the actual agreement, the cost, how much they have to pay on a monthly basis and so on. They shared all that with me. And I remember some of them having to pay, well, the total cost, $30-something thousand, $40-something thousand. So they signed on to that. They accepted that under the NNP. But the NNP gave them that, but they were not collecting the money the way it's supposed to be collected, because to them, it is a very politically charged thing. You can lose votes by saying to the folks who occupy those apartments, you have to pay and you have to be compliant. If you sign on to $200 per month, you have to pay. If you can't pay, you have to come in and let us see what we can work out. So they never tackle these things. And it's similar to the VAT. It was the NNP who came up with the VAT. But it was close to the election, so they did not implement it in 2008. It took the NDC to come in and implement it. And we can go to other things where they hold back because, it's politics. They want the votes. They want these people to support them. So they dare not even make sure that they pay what they're supposed to pay every month. But there are some people who paid everything. And the apartments and the buildings and so on, they're falling apart. So who is affected the most? The people who pay. Right? We know everybody there will be affected, but the people who pay, the building's supposed to be maintained properly for them because they pay. And housing authority is responsible for maintenance, for making sure that the electricity is on point, water on point, the building, the condition, everything there is on point. Housing authority. So the people who pay in full, they're now saying, well, we are disadvantaged. We are not getting what we're supposed to get because the people who not paying is holding back the whole process for the place to be repaired and for the problems to be fixed. Because remember, $3-4 million, the people occupying those apartments and so on, they have not paid. Right? And that didn't happen in the last 14 months. We're talking about years they did not pay. And there is no late fee to be paid. There is no arrest, nothing like that, no penalty, sorry. So what they have to pay is what they pay or what they should pay every month. There is no penalties at, like you say, you're late, so you have to pay 1% more. You're late, then we're going to add this to it and so on. No, it's the actual money that they owe. So the people who paid, they're now having to wait and grind because housing authority is saying, well, we need our money from the people who don't pay so we can do the total repairs. But the people who pay can take housing authority to court. You see the point? For them to fix where they are, where the room that they occupy or the flat that they occupy, because it is the responsibility of housing to maintain those facilities, to make sure that it's livable, to make sure that the electricity is working properly, and all the fittings and fixtures and everything like that, to make sure that the railings are okay, to make sure that the place is painted properly and clean and everything, to make sure that this thing is safe for the people. But those who fail to pay housing, right? And remember, housing depend on that money from the people to fix, to maintain the facility. But they have not been paying, so housing don't have the money to fix it, to renovate the place, because it will just run down, it will just become a ghetto. So housing is saying, well, you need to pay up, because we need that money to renovate the place, to make sure that the place is livable. Because right now, windows problems, doors, locks, railing, electrical this, plumbing this, a whole pile of problems. But here is, the NNP is saying, well, the people who don't pay, you should not ask them to pay. You should just leave them there without paying. Forgive them. Start afresh. Right? Because you as government gave tax amnesty to the business people and to other people. But they know that the tax amnesties are everybody. Business, any Grenadian. But the NNP would always try to lie and twist things. The tax amnesty still stands until December. And it's for everybody. You're in business or not. And if you owe VAT, you have to pay the money that you owe. If you owe any taxes, you have to pay that actual money. Even if you get the tax amnesty is really saying we will forgive you when it comes to the penalties and the arrears. So it's not really the actual money that you owe. It's not the principal. It's the interest over time. So that is what they're actually forgiving, the interest, the penalties. But the NNP will not tell you that. They're going to make you believe, well, this tax amnesty is only for the businesses. And that's a lie. It's for every Grenadian, for all tax types. Once you're a Grenadian and you owe taxes and you're in arrears, you have penalties assigned to them, that will be removed and you pay just what you owe. So that is the argument they're making, because they're saying, well, this $2, $3, $4 million, just forgive the people, right? They're poor and they're vulnerable and so on. But they know that the majority of people in those facilities support the NNP. So they know by coming out and speak in such a way, in such an irresponsible way, their supporters will still be happy. That is what they're doing. It is irresponsible for a group of people or organization or any one of them, right, pundits, surrogates, to come out and say, well, they didn't pay, they shouldn't pay, and you should just forgive them, find the money somewhere. So me and you, taxpayers' money, should be used to renovate and repair the different apartments of the people who are not paying what they're supposed to pay to occupy that apartment. That is what the NNP is actually telling me and you, that the government should take taxpayers' money, right? Law-abiding people, taxpayers' money, and go and fix these apartments for those folks who are occupying it and not paying. And they are responsible for mashing it up. Because the minute time you're not paying, you have no ownership of nothing, right? You're mashing up locks, you're mashing up doors, you're mashing up windows, you're mashing up the whole electrical thing in the house. The minute time you're not paying. But when you're paying, then you're going to protect it. Because you know it's yours, right? But the NNP, they have always been irresponsible. So they're out there telling their supporters, saying to their supporters, well, the government should not take any money from you. You owe the government and they should not collect. The government should forgive you and start afresh. Okay, well, if the government forgive them and start afresh, how do you know that they're going to pay? Because they have to pay. They have to complete paying for the house, for the apartments. They have to. And it was the NNP who actually gave them the cost of the different apartments that they are occupying. But it is irresponsible the way the NNP is speaking on this particular matter. But I am not surprised. One of those pundits, one of those NNP pundits, in my belief, hear what he had to say on this said matter.
Out of that, but what I want to speak about is the whole question of persons being delinquent, right, on payments and so for the houses, and which is expecting, because the best of us, we owe, banking institutions, we owe the shops, we owe whatever persons that we're dealing with, and so. And it's amazing to understand that it's around $2 million, $3 million, right, that is being owed by personnel who occupy, right, these houses. I think it's Subies, that's one, the one in River Road, right, Mount Rush, and there's another one. And the government apparently is moving to collect, right, on these delinquents and so. And yes, it is something that you invest in and everything like that. Well, and not just invest, but most of the housing unit was given as donations by the government of China, right? Now, I want to appeal to government. Just as you gave the business people tax amnesty, You gave other persons tax amnesty. I'm appealing to you to also apply amnesties to those personnels, right, who are being delinquent at this point in time, because we understand the economic situation. We understand the persons who are dwelling there. They are not persons per se who are not under the poverty line. So I want to bring to you, Minister Telesford and Prime Minister, members of his government too, give the people who are delinquent in the sum of what, over $2 million, give them an amnesty. Let the government basically take up that expense, just as you did with the business people. They didn't pay a lot of VAT that they have collected, and so a lot of them didn't pay and they had penalties on it. You waive it from them. They are business people, they are into business. But the persons who occupy these units and so, I think that they need your assistance. And I am begging, I'm appealing to you to give them an amnesty, waive all the charges and let them start afresh, with proper guidelines. And so you can do that by the stroke of a pen. We know you can.
Right. So
So
that is a pundit, right? Devon Romain. He has always been out there pushing a certain agenda for those obstructionists, in my belief. You remember, he used to be on the NNP Hard Talk program as guest, sometimes co-host with Sheldon Scott, the Tomcat, right? So he's now on that program up north. Remember, Kennedy Boldall used to be on that program, but they set certain conditions for him. He can't talk about convention. He can't talk about the old bull, the old cock. He can't say certain things. He can't push Peter. He can't talk about Peter. A lot of conditions. So this guy is on that program now talking this rubbish, right? They expect me and you, taxpayers, to foot the bill for these people who occupy those apartments. And mind you, it was given by the Chinese government, but the NNP administration decided to charge them. And I have no problem with them being charged because the place has to be maintained. So there's a cost. So it's low income. So it was about what, 30 something $1,000 for most people. 30 something thousand, 40 something $1,000. And they enter into a payment plan. So every month they pay a certain amount because housing authority has to maintain the facility. So look now, for example, they have to go and repair, do some renovation and so on the building, replace those doors with no locks and windows that's broken and electrical fittings and switch and all those different things that it's a rundown. The buildings are run down now. The painting and so on, everything just falling apart, it's flaking. You have mold on the walls and so. The railings, because remember it's high-rise buildings. The railings, you need railings or else people could fall down and break their neck and so on. You need to change those things. It's rust. It's how then will they get the money to fix all this problem when the folks are not paying up? You're not compliant. But the NNP pundits are out there saying, don't pay. They're telling their people, don't pay indirectly. Don't pay. The government should forgive you. The government should not collect the money from you. Housing authority should not take the money from you to do the work to repair and maintain the facility. That is what they're actually implying, Yeah. But they're accustomed to free everything free. Free. And we heard it only recently, when the government decided to give the free tuition support to students at TAMCC and the New Law, the NNP put out a release to say, well, you shouldn't stop there. Give them free transportation too. Give them free meals too. Give them free school books and uniform. Give them shoes. Give them brick, you know, the snack that they normally get on a daily basis, what they eat. Because you have lunch and you have brick or a snack. The NNP came out and said, well, give them all of that. Give them money to pay bus and transport and everything. So they're accustomed. The NNP knows what they're doing, you know, because their supporters are accustomed to everything free. That is how the NNP train their supporters. Free this, free, free, free. So now that the NDC is in power, they want that kind of conduct to continue. They want that kind of behavior to continue because the true beneficiaries of this free co and free this and free are NNP supporters. So they're saying to the government now, well, the $4-point-something million that these people are owing, don't collect it from them. Forgive them. And take taxpayers' money, me and your money, right? We are not responsible for them not paying their money on a monthly basis. We are not responsible for them in those facilities mashing up the windows, mashing up the doors, right? Electric problem here, there, and everywhere. Plumbing issues here, there, and everywhere. The railings rotten out and all this. We are not responsible for that. So why should taxpayers, hard-working taxpayers' money be used to repair these facilities because the NNP is saying, you know, to the people, don't pay. Indirectly, that's what they're saying. To these people, don't pay what you owe. Remain there because this government should forgive you and clean your slate. And they have money, so they go fix it. They go fix these things. They're going to find the money to. It's irresponsible. But that is how the NNP has always functioned. That's how they do it. They don't care because their supporters like free things, free this and free that. Every initiative of the government, they want it to be free. So where the government getting the money to pay for these things? That's my question to you. Where are they getting the money to pay for these things? We did not get oil and gas. We did not fund oil and gas. The NNP lied to the Grenadian people to say, well, we found oil and gas, so plenty money go flow. But where would we get the money from? Taxpayers' money. Taxpayers' money. So why should you be so irresponsible to say to these people, well, the government should forgive you. It should clean your slate and start from fresh. All the thousands and thousands you owe, let them forgive you about. I mean, it's amazing. But that is how the NNP has always functioned because they know who they're speaking to. They are speaking to their supporters. Don't fool yourself, you know. They're speaking to their supporters because their supporters are predominantly poor and vulnerable. And their supporters would dominate those housing schemes. Their supporters will be in there at high numbers. So what they want is for this thing to be free. So it benefits their supporters. But the hard-working people who pay taxes, who are compliant, who have debts on their hand too, who have to pay the bank, pay the credit union, who have to meet their own commitments. They want me and you to pay for these people. So they want the government to find the $4 million or the $2-point-something million and find that money to fix the problem. And these people now, they shouldn't pay. But if you train these people like that, it's a dangerous, dangerous precedence. Dangerous. But that is how the NNP functions. I am not surprised. And they know what they're doing. Do not believe that they're saying these things in isolation. It is a well-orchestrated plan. They want to force the hands of the government because they know what they're doing in terms of speaking to these people to get their votes or to keep them supporting that particular obstructionist party. But what we need to do is to say, hey, you have a responsibility. If you owe, you have to pay like anybody else. Yep. Why the old cock don't take 2 million out of his 19 million? Right? He's 19 million. And let me see here. A good friend. Good.
What's up? How are you, my friend?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. I think I deleted the information
Oh,
by mistake.
I'll
It's
call
the
you. I'll
record.
call you
Can
after
you
the
send it to
program.
me now? I'm in the place.
All right, let me do that now. Okay,
All right, baby. Thanks.
nice. All right, sweetie. Nice. Let me do that right now. Right. So I am saying, folks, it is clear, very clear, that the NNP administration, right, at the time, they were reckless with the resources of the state. They never held these people to account, to make sure that they're compliant, to make sure that they pay up. They never did that. It was just a situation where you could do whatever you want. It's no big deal. So now the NDC has to pay the price, which is really, really terrible, if you ask me, because look, taxpayers' money should never be used in such a way. In other words, they don't have to do what they should be doing. Let me just send that here for a friend quickly. Right. So, in other words, they don't have to meet their commitment. You occupy a building and you can be irresponsible, and they expect the government to just come down and just pay. Right? Just pay. Just give $3 million, $4 million to housing, and they would just handle everything. But where that money is coming from? What kind of example are we setting? If you do that, what kind of example will you be setting for the other people? They will say, well, the government pay out all of that, forgive these people, so we could do the same thing and don't pay. I am saying to the government, if these people fail to pay, evict them. Evict them if they fail to pay. Right? That must happen. And we, the reasonable thinking Grenadians, will understand. You have a responsibility. You're occupying a building, you're occupying a facility, and apartment, and so you have a responsibility to pay. It is simple. The NNP issued you contracts when they were there for you to pay, but the politics, they decided not to collect the money as they're supposed to. But you have to pay. The place have to be maintained. They have to do the repairs. They have to fix the stuff. It can't just run down like that. No, evict them if they don't pay. And let them go on the news and bawl and scream. And so who cares about that? At the end of the day, it has to be some level of responsibility. You have to be responsible for your action. You have to be responsible. I could see if you go in and you enter into some kind of plan because things are a bit tough on you, but you decide you ain't paying. And they have to come and repair the facility so it can be livable, so that people can be there comfortably. Come on. Something ain't right with that kind of philosophy. So the NNP pundits and so on, they're out there saying, don't pay. The government have to forgive you, right? They have to forgive you and you don't have to pay, and you don't. That's what they're doing. It's a dangerous, dangerous thing. But folks, I have to wrap it up now. I want to wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day. I'll be back with you tonight, God's willing, starting from 8 in the PM, because this is something that we have to continue to talk about, because the NNP is pushing this narrative out there. I tell you, they're pushing this narrative because they want people to believe that they don't have to be responsible. You get a building, you sign on to a contract for $30,000 or $35,000 at the building, and you should just don't pay. Come on, that's wrong. That's vulgar. That's irresponsible. Folks, have a nice day. Take good care.